meeting to order. This meeting is for the purpose of setting the county millage rate and the 2023 tax levy resolution. I ask the county attorney if he will give the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together again to do the business of the people of Lincoln County. We thank you for the organization and how it works for you and for the people. Lord, we just ask that you give us your wisdom as we make the decisions, as this board makes the decisions today. Bless each and every person who's here today. Keep them and their families and return them safely home. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Okay, we have our millage rate and resolution in your packet. Before we get to that for a vote, this will be a short meeting. All of you know when you're here, when you go to your schools that you go to, biggest part of the job of the county commissioner is the county budget and levying the tax millage rate to fund that budget. We have done the first part of it on the budget, which we approved several months ago. Now the time has come to levy the millage rate. I know that we have citizens across the county that are concerned about tax increases, as we are. As I made a statement to a gentleman the other day in the office, basically talking about the Board of Education, because Sherry can tell you, we've been the last few weeks, especially since Lincoln Journal went out saying county proposed 3 mil tax increase for schools. That's what the headlines read. Our phone started ringing because people thinking we were doing it. The school was faced with a tough decision. You know, if you lose $1 million in revenues out of $11 million budget, you got a heck of a shortfall. And that's what happened to the Board of Education. If the coin was flipped and we lost $1 million in revenue, we would be the ones sitting over here holding public hearings and trying to do something. But I told this gentleman the other day that I thought we had 5 real good businessmen on the Board of Education, probably the best we've had in many years. Every one of them were financially successful and owned their own businesses and property. And when they vote to levy a tax to run this government school, that increased the taxes of all 5 of those people that voted to do that. They voted a tax increase for themselves. They're not exempt, and they all own a lot and pay a lot of taxes, and they're not doing it because they want to, neither are we. The worst thing that any elected official in local government want to do is raise taxes. But it's inevitable once you're sitting here. Now, we have had in the last 5 years, and it's on your 5-year history, anybody can look at it, it's been on the website for several months. But since 2019, the 5 years, the county has actually reduced our millage rate by 3.087 mils. Millage rates is what you more or less have to go by, but as you know, millage rates have to be multiplied by values. Values do increase. So what has happened this year, we talked about 2023, but this has happened for the last several years going backwards. If you look at your budget books, or anybody that wants to come by and look at it, I don't know how many line items are in it, but it's probably 1,000. I want to point out 4 line items that we collectively as commissioners had to do that increased the spending of Lincoln County government by approximately $500,000. 4 line items in that whole budget. We, commissioners, gave a 3% raise to the county employees. I want people to understand a 3% raise to Lincoln County employees equates to almost $250,000, $227,000 roughly, that it costs to give the county employees a 3% raise. We still have employees working for $12.50 an hour. It's ridiculous in this day and time. I signed a paper just the other day where the sheriff hired a jail. When I glanced down, $12.50 an hour. That's the reason we have such a turnover in the jail. Nobody's qualified, well, a few are qualified, that's passed post-exam because they rotate out before the 6-month period. And we are trying to address that slowly but progressively to get these up, and we have done that in the last years. But in reality, it's $227,000 to give our employees a 3% raise, which in some cases, when you make it $11 and $12 an hour, don't equate to about $500 a year. We faced that just a few weeks ago with somebody in our building and grounds part. The next thing happened to us that we have absolutely no control over. Thankfully, for 3 years, we didn't get an increase. But this year, we have approximately $180,000 increase in the county's insurance. That money has to come from somewhere. As you know, several months ago, we've gone about 3 years, I think, without an increase in the cost of food, feed the prison, Lincoln County Jail. But that increase cost the county about roughly $50,000. The fourth and final one that I'm going to mention is gas and fuel that operates county vehicles and machinery. That is a guesstimate because you don't know what fuel prices are going to do. But Director Dawson and I, when looking at that, we do know that we spent $40,000 last year more than we budgeted. So when we looked at it and y'all approved, we increased it by $40,000. Whether that's enough or not, we don't know. Could be depending on price of fuel. Might be a surplus. But in actuality, it was $40,000. When you add those three figures together, it's $497,000. There's some change in that, in most of those, and a few more dollars, so I'm going to say $500 million. One meal of tax in Lincoln County brings in, earning $370 or $409?
$370, sir.
All right, that's your net. So a meal of tax brings in $370,000. So if you look at that, we do a tax increase of a meal would not even cover those four items in our budget. Not only did we not increase the millage rate, we decreased the millage rate by 0.2 of a meal. We've gone from 8.4, and you'll be voting today on an 8.2. Now let me translate what that means to you. We didn't have to hold public hearings and advertise. If we had left it at 8.4, we would have had to have 3 public hearings, advertising in the paper, to explain why we left it at 8.4. You'd have to go through the same process if you left it at 8.4 and didn't raise it 0.2 as you would if you'd have raised it 6 meals. The process is the same. We haven't done that in several years. 4 or 5 years we've reduced it. If we had left it at 8.4, we would have received approximately $150,000 in real new money to come into the county treasury from property tax. By reducing it and not holding public hearings from 8.4 to 8.2, we ended up getting $90,536. So I said all that to say this: 4 items increased us approximately $500,000 from property taxes, 23 over last year. We're going to get roughly $90,000 in new money. So that's not even coming close to taking care of those 4 items in that budget that's being done. So that's the difference. If we had done it, if we had left it the same, we'd got about 150,000. By reducing it from 8.4 to 8.2, we get 90,000 if it all comes in. It's not gonna all come in, it's gonna be a little bit less than that in actuality. But the last thing I wanna say before we call this to a vote is some of the questions that I get is, and I imagine y'all do too, over the last few weeks is, why y'all raising the school taxes? I explained that to them. Well, why don't y'all just not let them raise it that much? The law does not provide for that in all of Georgia's 159 counties. For the tax commissioner to send the bills out, to collect the money to operate the county government, school government, and the development authority, we have to approve it to go on the tax bills by law, for the tax commissioner to send it out, collect the money, and disperse it to those three entities. So she can't put it, Ms. Downer can't put it on the tax bills without a tax levy coming from signed and approved by the county commissioners to put it on. We have no authority to reduce their millage rate or increase their millage rate. We have no authority to have any input as commissioners into the budget process. As a citizen, yes, you do, but not as a county commissioner. So what we have to do is whatever they bring to us, we have to vote to put it on the tax bill for the tax commissioner to collect the taxes for them. That's the only responsibility we got. We don't have a responsibility of declining it, reducing it, or any other thing. So no more than they do ours. So we are doing what the law requires county commissioners to do, and that's to keep the county solvent. You have to have money to operate the county, and that's what we're doing today. With that said, any of y'all have any comments you want to make before we go into it? If not, the finance director and I will try to do this, and I'm going to turn it over to the finance director for him to.
Chairman, Commissioners, you have the 5-year history that was published in the Lincoln Journal as required by law. To balance our budget, we need $3,036,954. That equates to a millage rate on the current digest of 8.2 mils. Chairman, I would ask, which is a reduction, and it is also below the rollback rate. Chairman, I would ask a motion to set the county millage rate at 8.2 mils for tax year 2023.
Is there a motion that we adopt a mill rate of 8.2 mils, which is a 0.2 reduction from 8.4 of last year, to operate the county government?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Commissioner Tankersley, second by Commissioner Clyde. Any discussion on the motion? Chair hears none. All in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There being none, the motion is passed unanimously. Director Dawes.
Chairman, we have provided you with a resolution. I will to set the tax levy for tax year 2023. I will read the resolution. State of Georgia, County of Lincoln, resolution, approval of tax levy for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Whereas the Board of Commissioners of Lincoln County, Georgia, sitting for county purposes this 23rd day of August 2023, does hereby order that there be collected by the Tax Commissioner of Lincoln County, Georgia, for tax year 2023, such amounts as may be produced by the following tax rates for county purposes, to wit: county 2.00 mils.
No.
8.200 mils, thank you. Whereas upon the direction of the Board of Education for Lincoln County, Georgia, it is hereby ordered that there shall be levied and assessed upon property subject to taxation for educational purposes the following tax rates, to wit: school maintenance and operations 15.079 mils, and school bonds 2.246 mils. And whereas for the purpose of industrial and economic development on behalf of the Development Authority for Lincoln County, Georgia, it is ordered that there shall be levied and assessed the following tax rate for industrial and economic purposes, to wit: Development Authority 0.771 mils, and whereas the total of all tax rates equals 26.296 mils, and whereas it is ordered pursuant to the Code of Lincoln County, Georgia, Chapter 58-150 et squal, however you say that, that the minimum assessment for the residential solid waste for residents of all unincorporated incorporated areas of Lincoln County is hereby set at $224.76 per owner or occupant of each residential unit, including all residential units located in manufactured home parks and in boat clubs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tax Commissioner of Lincoln County, Georgia is ordered to collect all said taxes for county, school, and industrial purposes as levied for tax year 2023 and pay them over to the proper authorities as required by Georgia law. This resolution shall be recorded in the minutes of Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. Duly read, approved, adopted by the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners this 23rd day of August 2023. Chairman, we need a motion to adopt the resolution.
Is there a motion that we adopt the resolution to approve the tax levy for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion by Commissioner Henderson, second by Commissioner Collins. Any discussion on the motion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. That being done, the motion is passed unanimously. Director Dawes, does that conclude?
Chairman, it does.
That concludes the duties that we have to get the tax levy to the tax commission and to the state agencies. There being any other business? If not, is there a motion that we adjourn?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Clyde to adjourn, second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion on the motion? Chair is none. All in favor of the motion, let it be known saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion is carried and we stand adjourned.